The stars rippled like water as the USS Valiant tore through the fabric of space. Blue light flashed across the bridge as alarms sounded. The ship shuddered, metal groaning as it fought against forces it was never meant to withstand. Captain Allison. Gray gripped her chair's armrests, knuckles white. Her short brown hair was damp with sweat as the jump drive pushed the ship beyond what any human vessel had done before. Jump complete in 3, 2, 1. The violent shaking stopped. The stars outside the main view screen settled into unfamiliar patterns. There was a collective breath held by the bridge crew until the ship's systems came back online. "Status report," Captain Gray ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Lieutenant Commander Daniel Reeves checked his tactical screens, his fingers dancing across the controls. "Jump successful, Captain. All systems returning to normal operation. Weapon systems intact. Shields at 92% and climbing." "Where exactly are we, Science Officer Collins?" Patricia Collins studied her readings with intense focus, her red hair pulled back tightly. "Confirming position now, Captain. We appear to be at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. Exactly as planned. First interstellar jump in human history. Successful." A small cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly silenced by the captain's raised hand. "Save the celebrations. We've only completed step 1, Gray said. Lieutenant Commander Reeves. "Full sensor sweep of the area. Let's see what's out there." The tactical officer nodded, his dark eyes narrowing as data flooded his screen. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple vessels throughout the system. None match any design from Earth." The mood on the bridge shifted instantly from triumph to alert caution. "How many?" the captain asked. "At least 17 distinct vessels, various sizes. 3 appear to be military class based on energy signatures. The rest look like civilian or transport craft." Science Officer Collins looked up from her station, face pale. "Captain, based on the communications we're detecting, this appears to be a Jiraxian outpost." Gray's expression hardened. For years, Earth had secretly monitored alien communications, learning about the complex web of species and alliances that filled the galaxy. The Jiraxian Concordat was known to be territorial and quick to violence. "Are they aware of us?" Communications specialist Kevin Wright spoke up from his station. "They are now, Captain. I'm picking up emergency signals spreading through their network. Our arrival has caused quite a stir." Gray stood, moving to the large view screen that showed the distant lights of alien ships. The USS Valiant was humanity's first true warship built for interstellar travel. Constructed in secret beneath the lunar surface, it represented the sum total of Earth's military technology, enhanced by what they had learned from intercepted alien transmissions. "Can you translate what they're saying?" she asked. Wright pressed his earpiece deeper, concentrating. "They're calling us an unknown vessel and possible threat. There's a lot of confusion. I don't think they expected anyone to just appear at the edge of their system." "Of course not," said Major Olivia Barton as she entered the bridge. The Marine commander moved with the confidence of someone always ready for combat. "No one in their records has jump technology like ours. We just did the impossible by their standards." Captain Gray nodded. "Their records said most species use some form of faster-than-light travel that still takes days or weeks to cross between stars. We just covered 4 light years in minutes." Chief Engineer Jack Nelson's voice came through the ship's communication system. "Captain, the jump drive is cooling down as expected. We can make another jump in approximately 6 hours if needed." "Let's hope that won't be necessary, Engineer Nelson. All stations maintain yellow alert. I want all systems ready but no aggressive posture. We're here to establish contact, not start a war." Science Officer Collins looked troubled as she studied the growing data. "Captain, 3 vessels are changing course. They appear to be moving to intercept us." "Time to intercept?" "At their current speed, 22 minutes. Gray returned to her chair, her mind racing through options. This moment had been planned for decades, ever since humanity discovered they weren't alone in the universe. Earth's leaders had debated endlessly about how to reveal themselves to the galactic community. Some had argued for a cautious approach, sending messages first, establishing communication before physical contact. Others pushed for strength, showing the galaxy that humans weren't to be underestimated or bullied. In the end, they chose a middle path. Come in strong enough to demand respect, but not so aggressively as to provoke immediate hostility. Lieutenant, Commander Reeves, keep weapon systems on standby, but do not power up targeting arrays. Let's not give them any reason to think we're hostile. Major Barton frowned. Captain, with all due respect, we should make it clear from the start that we can defend ourselves. They'll know that just by looking at us, Major. The Valiant wasn't designed to look like a science vessel. Indeed, the USS Valiant was clearly a warship. 1.5 kilometers of armored hull, missile tubes, energy weapon mounts, and advanced shield generators. Its very appearance was meant to announce humanity's technological capability. Communications Specialist Rights Console beeped urgently. Captain, I've managed to fully tap into their communication network. We're reading everything now. And? Gray prompted. It's alarming. Word of our appearance is spreading fast, not just to the local Zraxian authorities, but to multiple species. Something called the Galactic Conclave has been notified. They're treating our arrival as a potential first-strike weapon of an unknown aggressive species. Collins looked up from her science station. Based on what we've learned about galactic politics, that's very bad. The Conclave controls most diplomatic relations between spacefaring civilizations. Captain Gray took a deep breath. Humanity's first impression on the galactic stage was rapidly moving in the wrong direction. Right. Can we broadcast on their frequencies yet? Not yet, Captain. I need another hour at least to configure our systems to be compatible with their communication protocols. Major Barton stepped forward. Captain, those 3 ships are clearly on an intercept course. We should assume they're hostile. Gray studied the tactical display. The approaching ships were smaller than the Valiant, but their intentions were clear. They were coming to investigate, and possibly neutralize, the unknown threat that had appeared in their system. We have 20 minutes before they reach us. That gives us 20 minutes to decide the future of human-alien relations, Gray said. I want options from all of you. How do we turn this potential disaster into humanity's successful debut on the galactic stage? As the bridge crew worked frantically, the first images of the approaching alien vessels appeared on the view screen. They were sleek, with blue-green hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapon ports were clearly visible. Along their sides, Captain Allison Gray stood tall, feeling the weight of 7 billion lives back on Earth resting on her shoulders. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity emerged as a respected new power or triggered a war they couldn't possibly win. Get me everything we have on Zraxian first contact protocols, she ordered. It's time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy. Lights flashed red across the chamber as members of the Galactic Conclave's Security Council rushed to their seats. The emergency meeting had been called with only minutes of notice, something that hadn't happened in over 60 years. Representative Kalexthar of the Viridian Alliance stood at the central podium, his scaled skin reflecting the light as he gestured to the large display behind him. This vessel appeared in Zraxian space without warning, he said, pointing to the image of the USS Valiant. No approach vector, no entry wake. It simply materialized at the edge of the system. Murmurs spread through the gathered representatives of 12 different species. Impossible, stated Councillor Zren, a member of the technologically advanced Elysian Communion. No known species possesses such technology. And yet, here is the evidence, Kalexthar replied. The vessel is clearly armed and of significant size. Preliminary analysis suggests it is designed for war. Back aboard the USS Valiant, communications specialist Kevin Wright worked frantically at his station. Sweat trickled down his neck as he tried to break into the alien communication networks. The approaching Zraxian ships were now just 15 minutes away. I've got it, he finally announced, looking up at Captain Gray with wide eyes. I've tapped into their networks. I can understand most of what they're saying now. Put it on speakers, Gray ordered. The bridge filled with alien voices translated by the ship's computer into English. The crew listened in silence as they realized what was happening. They think we're here to attack them, Lieutenant Commander Reeves said, his expression dark. They're calling for reinforcements. They're also having some kind of emergency meeting about us, Wright added. Something called the Security Council is viewing images of our ship right now. Captain Gray paced the bridge, her mind racing. So our first impression to the galaxy is as a threat. That's not how this was supposed to go. Major Barton checked her weapon, a habit born from years of military service. We knew this might happen, Captain. We're a warship that appeared out of nowhere. What did we expect? We expected to have time to establish communication before being labeled a threat, Gray replied. She stopped pacing and faced her crew. How long until we can broadcast on their frequencies? Wright shook his head. 10 more minutes at least. Their systems are more complex than we anticipated. We don't have 10 minutes, Science Officer Collins interrupted, pointing to her screen. Those Zraxian ships have powered up their weapons. The Meu. Tension on the bridge thickened. This was quickly becoming a worst-case scenario. Gray made her decision. Lieutenant Commander Reeves, deploy our defensive countermeasures. I want our advanced electronic warfare systems ready. If they fire, disable their targeting systems without damaging their ships. Yes, Captain. Major Barton, I want your Marines. Ready but not visible. No aggressive posture. The Marine commander nodded reluctantly and left to prepare her troops. Right. Keep working on those communications. Collins, can we broadcast any kind of universal signal they might recognize as peaceful? Collins thought for a moment, then nodded. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, binary code. These are universal indicators of intelligence. We could broadcast these on simple radio waves. Do it, Gray ordered. At the Galactic Conclave Station, Ambassador Dre of the ancient Mithridian Collective rose slowly from his seat. His species was among the oldest in the known galaxy, and his words carried significant weight. I would remind the Council, he said in a raspy voice, of the ancient warnings about isolated evolutionary crucibles. Some worlds produce species unlike any others due to their unique development conditions. The room fell silent as he continued. This vessel, with technology we do not understand, may represent such a species. I advise extreme caution rather than immediate military response. Counselor Zren scoffed. Are you suggesting we allow an unknown heavily armed ship to do as it pleases simply because of old stories? I am suggesting, Dre replied calmly, that species which evolve in isolation often develop in unexpected directions. If they wanted to attack, why announce themselves with a single ship? Why not emerge at a vital world rather than a remote outpost? The debate grew heated as the image of the Valiant loomed on the display behind them. On the Valiant's bridge, the 3 Zraxian ships were now visible on the main view screen. They approached in a triangle formation, their weapons clearly ready to fire. They're charging weapons, Reeves reported. Defensive measures only, Gray reminded him. Collins, are you broadcasting those mathematical sequences? Yes, Captain. Basic prime number sequences on multiple frequencies. Right. Any progress? The communications specialist shook his head in frustration. Almost there, but he was cut off by a warning alarm. They're locking weapons on us, Reeves announced calmly, his fingers hovering over his controls. Captain Gray sat in her command chair, her back straight and her voice steady. Deploy countermeasures. The space between the ships lit up with invisible waves of energy as the Valiant activated its advanced electronic warfare systems. On the Zraxian ships, targeting computers suddenly failed, weapon systems showed error messages, and communication devices filled with static. Their weapons are disabled, Reeves reported with a small smile. They can't target us. The Zraxian ships stopped their approach, clearly confused by the sudden failure of their systems. Right? Gray asked, turning to her communications specialist. Got he exclaimed. I can broadcast now. Put me on an open channel, Gray ordered, standing from her chair. As Wright set up the connection, the captain straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. The next word she spoke would be the first official human communication to an alien species. This is Captain Allison Gray of the Earth vessel USS Valiant. We come in peace as representatives of humanity. We apologize for our unexpected arrival and any alarm it may have caused. We request peaceful communication and diplomatic exchange. Wright translated her words into the Zraxian language, and broadcast them to the approaching ships. For several long moments, there was no response. Then slowly, the central Juraxian ship's weapons powered down. The others followed suit. "They're responding," Wright said, his voice filled with excitement. The bridge speakers came to life with a harsh, clicking language that the ship's computer quickly translated. "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Grax of the Juraxian Defense Force. Your presence is unauthorized. Your technology is unknown to us. You will remain in position and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Captain Gray looked at her officers. "Not exactly a warm welcome. But not shooting either," Collins pointed out. Gray nodded. "Tell them we will not submit to boarding but are willing to send representatives to meet at a neutral location. Suggest Station Nexus 7. As Wright relayed this message, Gray turned to her crew. "This is it. First contact. Everything we do now sets the tone for humanity's place in the galaxy." In the conclave chamber, new information arrived, causing another wave of commotion. "The unknown vessel has made contact with the Juraxian ships," Kalexthar announced. "They claim to be from a planet called Earth, a species that calls themselves humans." Ambassador Jure nodded slowly. "And so a new player enters the great game of the galaxy. Let us hope they understand the rules before they break too many of them." The standoff between the USS Valiant and the three Juraxian ships continued in tense silence. On the bridge, Captain Gray watched the alien vessels on the main screen while waiting for their response. "They're talking among themselves." Communications, Specialist Wright reported, listening to the intercepted signals. "They seem confused by our technology." Lieutenant Commander Reeves kept his hands ready over the tactical controls. "Our countermeasures completely neutralized their targeting systems without firing a shot. We just showed technological superiority without actually attacking. That was the plan," Gray said quietly. "Show strength without aggression." The main screen flickered as a transmission came through. The face of a Juraxian appeared, reptilian features with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and scaled skin that shifted between blue and green colors. "I am Commander Grax," the alien said, its mouth moving strangely with the words. The ship's computer was translating in real time. "Your request to meet at Station Nexus 7 is unexpected. How do you know of this station?" Captain Gray straightened, her uniform before responding. "We have been studying galactic communications for some time. We know of many things, Commander Grax. This wasn't the complete truth. Humanity had been secretly intercepting and decoding alien transmissions for decades, learning about the galaxy and its politics before revealing themselves. But Gray saw no reason to explain that fully now. "We will escort you to Station Nexus 7, Grax said after a pause. "Any aggressive action will be met with immediate force from the entire Juraxian fleet." "Understood, Commander. We will follow your lead." The transmission ended, and Gray turned to her crew. "Well, that's progress. Engineer Nelson, how are the ship's systems?" Chief Engineer Jack Nelson's voice came through the communication system. "All systems functioning normally, Captain. The jump drive is cooling as expected. We'll be ready for another jump in about 5 hours if needed." "Good. Right, keep monitoring all communications. I want to know what they're saying about us. Collins, scan that station when we get close. I want to know what we're walking into." Major Barton stepped onto the bridge, her expression serious. "Captain, I've selected a team for the away mission. 4 Marines and myself." Gray shook her head. "This is a diplomatic mission, Major. We need to show trust." "With respect, Captain, we need to show we're not naive. I recommend Security Chief Rodriguez lead a small team. 3 people, lightly armed, professional but prepared." Gray considered this. "Agreed. Rodriguez, yourself, and Science Officer Collins. Back." On Earth, a secure underground facility buzzed with activity. NASA Director Frank Butler and General Linda Martinez stood in front of large screens showing the Valiant's telemetry data. "They've made contact," Butler said, relief evident in his voice. "No shots fired." General Martinez nodded, her gray hair pulled back tightly. "Phase 1 complete. Time for Phase 2. She turned to her staff. "Begin preparation for the launch of the USS Endeavour. Ambassador Harris needs to be ready to depart within 48 hours. In space, the Valiant moved slowly between the Zraxian escort ships. Station Nexus 7 grew larger on their view screen, a massive structure shaped like a wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. "I'm detecting at least 6 different ship designs docked at the station," Collins reported. "Multiple species, if our intelligence is correct." "Life support readings?" Gray asked. "Atmosphere is a nitrogen-oxygen mix, similar to Earth but with higher oxygen content. Temperature slightly warmer than our standard. Gravity appears to be set at what would be comfortable for multiple species." The Valiant approached a large docking bay, guided by signals from the station. "They're sending docking instructions," Wright said. "Pretty standard procedure based on what we've studied." Captain Gray stood. "Major Barton, have Security Chief Rodriguez prepare his team. Full environmental checks before removing helmets. Standard first contact protocols." As the ship docked with a gentle shudder, news of the unknown vessel spread throughout the station. Representatives from 12 species gathered in observation areas, trying to get a glimpse of the mysterious newcomers. Security Chief Adrian Rodriguez checked his equipment one last time. The veteran officer had trained for this moment his entire career, though he never truly believed it would happen. He wore a simple uniform with minimal armor and a small sidearm, enough to show they weren't helpless, but not enough to appear threatening. "Remember," he told his team as they gathered at the airlock, "we are the first humans most of these beings will ever see. Every gesture, every word matters." Major Barton nodded. "Keep your eyes open. Note defensive positions, weapons, escape routes. Standard procedure." Science Officer Collins adjusted her scanner. "I'll be monitoring atmospheric conditions and gathering biological data on the species we encounter." Captain Gray approached them. "This is historic. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community." She handed Rodriguez a small metal object. "This contains basic information about Earth and humanity, translated into mathematical and visual language. A gesture of openness." The airlock door opened with a hiss, revealing a long corridor leading to the station. Rodriguez took a deep breath and stepped forward. On Station Nexus 7, the main meeting chamber was in chaos. Representatives from various species argued loudly about how to handle the human situation. They appeared from nowhere, shouted a Zraxian diplomat. "With technology we don't understand. Their ship is clearly designed for war," added another. Ambassador Dre of the Mithridian Collective raised his hand for silence. "We should not rush to judgment. New species are rare in our age. This could be an opportunity rather than a threat, or it could be the beginning of an invasion," countered a representative from the militant Kroll Imperium, his massive frame towering over the others. "Though if their warriors are worthy, perhaps they could be useful allies." None of them noticed. The small group of humans who had entered the outer chamber, guided by station security. Rodriguez, Barton, and Collins stood quietly, observing the chaotic debate about their species. "They have no idea we're already here," Barton whispered. Rodriguez nodded. "Let's wait for them to notice us. I want to hear what they say when they think we're not listening." Collins scanned the room with her device. "I'm counting at least 9 distinct species present. Fascinating biological variations." The station security officer, a tall being with 6 limbs and pale blue skin, looked confused by their whispered conversation. Finally, he cleared his throat, or what passed for one, and announced loudly, "The human representatives have arrived." The room fell instantly silent. Every alien eye turned toward the 3 humans standing in the doorway. The moment stretched uncomfortably until Ambassador Giray stepped forward. "On behalf of the Galactic Conclave, I welcome you to Station Nexus 7, he said, his voice carrying the weight of age and authority. "I'm Ambassador Gray of the Mithridian Collective." Rodriguez stepped forward, standing tall. "I am Security Chief Adrian Rodriguez of the Earth vessel USS Valiant. This is Major Olivia Barton and Science Officer Patricia Collins. We come in peace as representatives of humanity." He held out the metal object Captain Gray had given him. This contains information about our world and species, freely given in the spirit of cooperation. Ambassador Dre took the object carefully, a most civilized gesture. Perhaps you would care to explain how your vessel appeared in Draxian space without warning. Such technology is unknown to us. Before Rodriguez could answer, a loud voice cut through the chamber. Do not be fooled by these gestures. It was the Kroll representative, his massive form pushing forward. They come in a warship. They demonstrate technology beyond our understanding. This is not the approach of a peaceful species. The tension in the room rose dramatically as the humans faced their first diplomatic crisis in the galactic community. Security Chief Rodriguez stood his ground as the massive Kroll warrior loomed over him. The alien was at least 8 feet tall with thick gray skin that looked as tough as armor. We came in a warship because we didn't know what to expect, Rodriguez said calmly. Would you explore unknown territory without protection? The Kroll's 4 eyes narrowed. A fair point, human, but your technology concerns us. No known species can simply appear in a star system without warning. Ambassador Dre stepped between them, his ancient face showing lines of worry. Perhaps we should move this discussion to a more formal setting. The arrival of a new spacefaring species deserves proper procedure. Major Barton kept her hand casually near her sidearm as she scanned the room. At least 12 different alien species watched them with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. Science Officer Collins whispered, "They're afraid of us." "Good," Barton whispered back. "Fear means respect. It also means danger," Rodriguez cautioned before addressing the gathered aliens. "We accept your invitation for formal discussions, Ambassador Dre." As the human team was led to a large meeting chamber, probes from various galactic powers were already racing toward the Sol system. The news of humanity's emergence had spread quickly through communication networks, and every major power wanted information about this new species. On the USS Valiant, Captain Gray watched the away team's progress through their body cameras. They've made it inside. First contact established. Communications Specialist Wright continued monitoring alien transmissions. "Captain, there's a lot of chatter about us, most of it concerned or alarmed, and I'm picking up signals that suggest several ships are being dispatched to our home system." Gray's expression hardened. "They're sending probes to Earth." "It appears so." "That was expected," Lieutenant Commander Reeves said. "We knew they'd want to learn about us." "Let's hope they only observe," Gray replied. "Engineer Nelson, status of our systems?" "All systems nominal, Captain. Jump drive cooldown proceeding as scheduled." Gray nodded. "Keep the ship ready. If things go badly, we may need to extract our people quickly." In the meeting chamber on Station Nexus 7, Rodriguez, Barton, and Collins sat at a large circular table surrounded by representatives from the major galactic powers. The air was thick with tension. A holographic display activated in the center of the table, showing the first images from probes approaching Earth. "Your world," stated a thin, blue-skinned alien introduced as Counselor Zren of the Elysian Communion. "High gravity, significant radiation from your star, extreme biodiversity, and..." The alien paused. "Constant warfare throughout your recorded history." Rodriguez kept his face neutral. "We have had our conflicts, as I'm sure all species have." "Not like yours," said the Kroll representative, whose name was Drac. He sounded almost impressed. "Your planet is a crucible for evolution, a challenging world that produces strong species." Ambassador Dre studied the data scrolling beside the Earth images. "Your technological development is unusual. You advanced from primitive flight to space travel in less than a century?" Collins nodded. "Our progress accelerated rapidly in recent decades." "Too rapidly," Zren said with suspicion. "And your jump drive technology. No species develops such capabilities without outside influence." Before Rodriguez could respond, another transmission appeared on the display. It showed a massive ship launching from Earth's moon. "Another warship," Drac growled. "You claimed peace but prepare for war." Major Barton leaned forward. "That's the USS Endeavor. It carries our diplomatic team. We knew you would be suspicious of us, so we sent our military vessel first to ensure safe passage." This was partially true. The Endeavour did carry Ambassador Nicole Harris and a diplomatic team, but it was also heavily armed. Earth was taking no chances with its first official contact. Across the station, in a private chamber, a Kroll military officer met secretly with one of his agents. "Find out everything you can about these humans," he ordered. "Their physical capabilities, their military structure, their weaknesses. The Imperium may have found the soldiers we need for our coming conflicts." The Kroll had been searching for new warrior species to bolster their forces. Initial readings suggested humans might be exceptionally suited for combat due to their evolution on a high-gravity world with constant environmental challenges. Meanwhile, news of the human warship had spread throughout the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings looked up at their skies, wondering if humans would be friends, enemies, or something in between. Back in the meeting chamber, Drax circled the table restlessly. "If we are to accept you into the galactic community, we must understand your intentions. Why reveal yourselves now with a warship?" Rodriguez exchanged glances with his teammates before answering. "We've been listening to your transmissions for decades. We learned about the complex politics of the galaxy. We knew that in such an environment, new species are often seen as resources to be exploited or controlled. We chose to emerge from a position of strength." Dre nodded slowly. "Prudent, though concerning." A new alien entered the chamber, tall and slender with iridescent skin. "Pardon my interruption," it said with multiple harmonic tones. "I am Dr. Ilara of the Xenobiology Council. We have completed initial analysis of human biological samples from the station's atmospheric filters." All eyes turned to the newcomer. "These humans possess extraordinary immune systems compared to most galactic species. Their cellular regeneration capabilities are remarkable. The result, we believe, of evolving on a world teeming with microbes and environmental hazards." Counselor Zren looked alarmed. "Could they be carriers of disease?" "No," Ilara replied. "Their immune systems are highly effective at containment, but they themselves would be unusually resistant to many common biological weapons." The implications of this statement hung in the air. Humans were naturally armored against one of the galaxy's most feared types of warfare. Rodriguez noted how the dynamics in the room shifted. The aliens were reassessing humans not just as an unknown threat, but as a potential asset or ally. On the Valiant, Dr. Jason Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, studied the biological data they were receiving from the station. "Captain, these alien species have fascinating physiologies, but many seem to have evolved in more controlled environments than Earth. They may view us as unusually hardy." "Or dangerous," Gray added. The ship's sensors suddenly alerted them to new arrivals in the system. 3 large vessels had appeared near the outer planets. Elysian ships, Lieutenant Commander Reeves identified. "Heavily armed?" "More are coming," Wright reported from communications. "I'm picking up transmissions suggesting at least 4 galactic powers are sending ships here. They all want to be present for first contact with humanity." Captain Gray studied the tactical display, watching as more ships appeared in the system. What had begun as a controlled first contact was rapidly becoming a major galactic event. In the station's meeting chamber, Rodriguez was saying, "Earth seeks peaceful relations with all species, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." As he spoke, his communication device quietly alerted him to the growing fleet gathering outside. The stakes of their mission had just increased dramatically. Humanity's emergence had sparked more interest and concern than anyone had anticipated. "Ambassador." Shuri sensed the tension and offered a compromise. "Perhaps it would be best to pause this discussion until your diplomatic vessel arrives. First contacts should be conducted properly, with full ceremonial recognition." Rodriguez nodded, relieved at the temporary reprieve. "We agree. Our ambassador will arrive within 2 standard days." As the meeting adjourned, Major Barton whispered, "They're stalling for time to gather more ships." "So are we," Rodriguez replied, quietly. "Let's hope diplomacy works, because if it doesn't, we're quickly becoming outnumbered." The USS Endeavour slipped into normal space near Station Nexus 7, its sleek form gleaming in the light of the distant star. Unlike the Valiant, which had been designed to look intimidating, the Endeavour combined elegance with power, a statement that humans could build beautiful things that were also strong. Inside the station's grand hall, alien representatives from 27 species had gathered. The arrival of a new spacefaring race was rare enough to draw attention from across the galaxy. Some came out of curiosity, others from fear, and many to assess a potential ally or threat. Ambassador Nicole Harris adjusted her formal uniform as she prepared to enter. At 57, she had spent her entire career in diplomacy, but nothing had prepared her for this moment, being the first human to officially represent Earth to the galaxy. "Remember," Captain Gray said beside her, having transported over from the Valiant, "they're already afraid of us. Our goal is to ease those fears without appearing weak." Harris nodded. A delicate balance. The massive doors opened, and they walked into the hall. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to watch them, some with multiple pupils, others with strange colors and shapes, but all filled with the same mixture of caution and curiosity. Ambassador Dre stood at the center of the room. "Representatives of the Galactic Powers, I present Ambassador Nicole Harris of Earth." Harris stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "I bring greetings from Earth and humanity. We come seeking peaceful relations and mutual understanding." As she spoke, the Galactic Conclave's Security Council was meeting in a chamber above. The vote on the resolution to impose restrictions on human expansion was nearly complete. "The humans are too dangerous to allow unrestricted movement," argued Councillor Zren. "Their technology, their biology, their entire history suggests they should be contained and studied before being permitted full access to galactic society." The Kroll representative disagreed. "They have proven themselves warriors worthy of respect. Containment would only breed resentment and eventually conflict." Ambassador Dre, the eldest among them, shook his head sadly. "We are rushing to judgment based on fear. This is not how the Conclave was meant to operate." The vote was called. By a narrow margin, the resolution passed. Humans would be restricted to their own star system until they could be properly evaluated. The Valiant, communications specialist Wright, intercepted the encrypted transmission. "Captain, they've voted to contain us. They're planning to announce it during the reception." Captain Gray, still on the Endeavour with the diplomatic team, received the message through her secure earpiece. She excused herself from a conversation with alien dignitaries and found a quiet corner to contact her ship. "Lieutenant Commander Reeves, is the jump drive ready?" "Yes, Captain. Fully recharged and operational. Prepare for immediate execution of Plan Omega. Authorization Gray Alpha 79. Understood, Captain, standing by." Gray returned to the reception, her expression revealing nothing of the plan now in motion. Ambassador Harris was deep in conversation with representatives from the Elysian Communion when Councillor Zren approached, flanked by security officers. "Ambassador Harris," he said with false pleasantry, "the Conclave has reached a decision regarding humanity's status in the galactic community." Before he could continue, Captain Gray stepped forward. "Counselor, before you proceed, I believe there's something you should know." She tapped her communication device. "Lieutenant Commander Reeves now. Across the galaxy, sensors flared as the USS Valiant disappeared from its position near Station Nexus 7. For several moments, nothing happened. Then alerts began pouring in from monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The Valiant had appeared near the Elysian homeworld, remaining just long enough to be detected before jumping again. Within minutes, it materialized briefly near the Kroll throne world, then the Jiraxian capital, then 11 other major worlds of significant galactic powers. Each appearance lasted only seconds, not long enough to be considered threatening, but long enough to make a point. The Valiant was demonstrating that it could reach any world in the galaxy within minutes. The reception hall erupted in chaos as news of the Valiant's journey spread. Security forces surrounded the human delegation, weapons drawn. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Councillor Zren, his face pale with shock. Ambassador Harris remained calm. "This is not aggression, merely a demonstration. You voted to contain us without understanding our capabilities. Captain Gray added. If we wished to attack, we would not have announced our presence with a single ship. We would not be standing here talking to you. The Valiant reappeared at its original position, near the station. The message was clear. Humans could not be contained by conventional means. Ambassador Dre stepped into the center of the tense gathering. Perhaps we should reconsider our vote in light of this new information. In the hours that followed, the Conclave Council met again. This time, Ambassador Harris was invited to speak. She revealed Earth's extensive archive of intercepted communications, demonstrating that humans had been listening and learning for decades. We could have emerged. In many ways, she explained. We chose to come openly, to establish ourselves as equals rather than as subjects. We seek neither domination nor conflict, but partnership. By the end of the day, the vote was reversed. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. On the USS Valiant, Chief Engineer Jack Nelson worked with alien technicians to establish proper communication protocols and navigation safety systems. These jump signatures will alert your monitoring stations of our approach, he explained. No more surprises. Science Officer Collins shared Earth's astronomical data with researchers from multiple species, while Dr. Martinez exchanged medical knowledge with Elysian scientists fascinated by human biology. Even Major Barton found herself engaged in what she called diplomacy of strength, demonstrating human combat techniques to impressed Krull warriors who had never seen a species from such a high-gravity world move with such speed. 1 month later, the first official human embassy opened on the Conclave homeworld. Ambassador Harris raised Earth's flag alongside those of other galactic powers as representatives from dozens of species watched. Captain Gray stood at attention during the ceremony, thinking about the ships already under construction back on Earth, some for diplomacy, others for defense. Humanity had announced its presence, demonstrated its capabilities, and secured its position among the stars. As the ceremony ended, Ambassador Dre approached her. Your entrance was rather dramatic, Captain, he said with what passed for a smile on his ancient face. It will be remembered for generations. That was the idea, Gray replied. First impressions matter. Indeed they do, the ambassador agreed. And humanity has made quite an impression. The galaxy will never be the same. Captain Gray looked up at the unfamiliar stars. Neither will we.